The subpoena for Governor Ned Lamont's testimony in the bribery trial of his former deputy budget director has been withdrawn.
Kosta Diamantis, his defense attorney, has indicated he might call the governor to the stand, but a judge pumped the brakes on that after prosecutors today questioned the relevance of the governor's testimony.
News 8 political reporter Mike Cerulli is live in Bridgeport. Mike.
Darren and Ann, good evening to you. Throughout this trial, Kosta Diamantis' defense attorney, Norm Pattis, has sought to portray his client as an aggressive, hands-on manager rather than a state official shaking down contractors for bribes. And several times, Pattis' cross-examinations have suggested that perhaps Diamantis' aggressiveness was due to a directive he'd been given by the governor to get those school construction projects he oversaw done on time. The governor would have or could have been asked about that directive if he was called to the stand, but today the judge presiding over this trial ruled those questions about Diamantis' aggressiveness aren't necessarily relevant to the underlying charges in this trial.
The judge concluded that the testimony we offered was irrelevant. You heard his ruling.
At the end of another long day of testimony, Norm Pattis and federal prosecutor Jonathan Francis presented opposing arguments on the relevancy of Ned Lamont's testimony in the Kosta Diamantis trial. Two seasoned lawyers in a debate wrapped in the legalese of the federal rules of evidence. Judge Stephen Underhill sided with the government, questioning how Diamantis' motivation for being an aggressive manager is directly relevant to the question of whether he took bribes. Pattis said he'll soldier on even in the absence of testimony from the state's most powerful official.
That was never a major part of the strategy. It was always a major press preoccupation because of who the governor is, but he was a bit player in a larger drama. Our strategy remains the same. Then you'll hear our opening statement on Thursday morning.
Hours before the complex debate over Lamont's testimony, a much more direct exchange took place between Francis, the federal prosecutor, and Salvatore Monarca, the owner of masonry company Acronym, who has already pled guilty to conspiring to bribe Diamantis. Under rapid-fire questioning, Monarca was asked, did Acronym pay bribes to the defendant? Yes, Monarca replied. Francis pressed further. Did Acronym get anything in exchange for those payments? Yes, Monarca said again. The prosecutor kept at it. Did the defendant ever threaten to hurt Acronym's business if you didn't pay him? Once again, Monarca said yes. Under cross-examination by Pattis, Monarca admitted to initially lying to federal investigators, just as his former co-worker John Duffy and construction consultant Antonetta Roy did. Pattis asked Monarca how the jury would know he was telling the truth if he'd already lied under oath. Monarca insisted he was being truthful. Jurors also heard today from an IRS special agent who investigated this case along with the FBI. Remember, Kosta Diamantis not just being charged with bribery and extortion, but also multiple counts of lying to federal investigators, and the IRS agent laid out what the government charges were those false statements made in an interview which Norm Pattis pointed out was not recorded. He really used that point that it wasn't recorded to question whether or not they could trust just the notes that the investigators took, and the IRS agent said it's not IRS policy to record interviews with people who aren't yet in their custody, and that he was taking copious notes and, of course, subtextually urging the jury, or not so subtextually urging the jury, to believe him and not the defense. The government is expected to wrap its case tomorrow, and as you heard from Norm Pattis, he'll deliver his opening statements in defense on Thursday, and after that, we could see Kosta himself take the stand. Reporting live in Bridgeport tonight, Mike Cerulli, News 8.